Hi everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. In this video, me and Jen thought it'd be a good idea to share some of our thoughts, some of our insights around this current solstice chart, and given some idea about how we can begin to orientate ourselves around this energy at the moment. We've had quite a lot of change take place already, and we're also going to have some additional changes being taking place too. So we've got the upcoming nodal switch. We've got Venus that's going to be turning retrograde in a month's time. And we've also got Neptune coming up soon with its retrograde. And we've got Pluto already retrograde, and we already have Saturn retrograde. So quite a lot of events taking place right now. And oftentimes it can feel very, we can be distant from the level of changes and the amount of changes that are taking place for us because maybe our lives are pretty busy. And of course, there's a lot going on, so it's not a surprise that these types of experiences we can feel them move through us. They do change us, but we may not necessarily fully kind of become connected to the power that lies behind these changes. So that's the goal today, to kind of really connect more deeply with the current aspects. So two things that I want to quickly say. First things first, I want to take up some space. I'm very proud of this at the moment, and so I want to share it with you. So recently, the Evolutionary Astrology Immersion course has been something that I've been sharing, and the registration for that is actually open right now. We've got a few days left in that. And one of the reasons why I say that I'm so sort of connected and proud of this immersion and why I'm excited to share it is because, to me, some of my deepest work is how to connect mythology and abstract astrology and the way that it works in a kind of non-linear cosmic way to how we as human beings interface with it. Like how do we actually embody them? How do we live in union with the cosmos? And this immersion is my attempt to teach all of the knowledge that I have around how this actually works and how you can actually be in co-relation with not only your own internal psyche, but also how the movement of the stars hold deep wisdom within us. And to me, this capacity to be in dialogue and understand how we learn, how the body actually learns through a somatic experience, how it learns through being in relation with the deeper, sort of reality of the cosmos, and being able to actually look at that for yourself. To me, this is an incredibly personal and meaningful journey that I'm wanting to share. And so that's why I'm taking up space here. I'm sharing it with you. For those of you that want to do this and go on this journey with me, there's going to be so many experiences. We're going to be dialoguing with each other. To me, this is just like the deepest enriching experience, and I can't wait to do that. So that's for me taking up some space and sharing that with you. If this is something that's interesting, there's actually a lot more details in the description. There's a link that you can go and check the registration and see what the modules look like and all of that. And if it's good for you, then I hope to see you in that process. Okay. Second thing, I'll talk about it a bit later, but I want to kind of go ahead with what I want to talk about in this video today. So we're going to look at the chart, and I'm going to show you some aspects, but I want to kind of seed into this video today some of what the immersion is really about and where I'm at currently and what you will see continuously coming out of me. And then once we do that, then we'll move on to the charts, and I'll show you how these aspects are reflecting in a more sort of story-based way, what changes are taking place for us, and how we can be in relation, how we can be in communion with the stars, and how the current transits at the moment, if we embody them, actually awaken deep agency. Right? This is something that is very potent for me right now. Is like, how can we be in dialogue and communication with our own soul and experience our sense of identity, which is the part of you that can kind of touch things and go, yes, if my name gets called, and I respond, right? That part of you, how can it be in contact with a deeper part of you, right? How can it be in contact with that? And this is something that I think that we as human beings have fundamentally lost over a long period of time. We've lost that threading together, that marriage between the sense of identity that we have that's here, and the part of us that drives our kind of cosmic story, right? Our emotional story, our mythology, right? The deeper part of you that is bringing life to you. Like, how can we be in conversation with that? And so that's what I want to kind of make alive for us today, and that's a very big part of what actually drives the immersion. And I want to do that with the astrology. So let's start off with something that I feel is very important for me right now. So I'm going to use the word importance. I'm going to use the word real, okay? So when I mean this, or when I say this, I mean, what is alive for me right now? What can I sense, feel, and pay attention to and see that is emerging in my life, okay? And I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to, when you're watching this video afterwards, just like you've been doing with the other ones that I've done, I want you to kind of take a step back and really allow yourself to wander into your awareness. This is the piece, right? I want you to allow your awareness to wander a little bit broader than the frame of reality that you consistently keep interacting with as this is what life is, okay? So in one way, I'm kind of embodying the archetypes that are present in the chart right now by showing you what these energies are about. But in another way, I'm also inviting us to be able to start playing with this place of reality that challenges our pre-existing perceptions, okay? This idea that we just come into life and then here's the frames that we need to see reality through, and then we kind of just do that. And for most of you that are on this video right now, for most of you that are following at least the work that I do, you know that there's something on the edges of those frames that wants to come through, right? You want to allow that to come through. And so this wandering process allows you to have a more porous, right, a more receptive sense of what is actually taking place in your life right now that we don't make relevant, we don't make real, we don't allow to be present, because in one way we've conditioned our perception to see it as noise. And one of the ways what that looks like in a kind of consensus reality is astrology is not real, you can't do this, or don't, you're crazy, or any kind of language we use to essentially inform our mind, our brain, to zone that out, right? And then kind of just focus on being a good citizen or doing the right thing, etc. Whatever story and narrative is being played at the moment. Like, so we don't actually wander into the more sort of deeper states of our consciousness. And this is an attempt here for us to come into, so as you're kind of allowing yourself to, when we work with this astrology, what you're wanting to do is really allow yourself to be present and just kind of let yourself wander a bit in this space, right? This is a big piece, right? Just wandering a little bit to the peripherals of your perception. And this is going to become mental for some of us, because we're going to say like, well, what is this about? Like, you want to allow yourself to try to stop figuring it out and just being present with what is salient for you right now. Okay, this is the first process here. In order to do this, you need to be able in a kind of more relaxed state. So even doing a simple breathwork exercise, like taking 2 short breaths in and then just breathing out as long as possible. For that process, do it again, like 2 times, and you will feel immediate that your nervous system is relaxed, right? It's coming more into peripheral states, wanting to pick up on the more subtle layers of reality. Okay, that's where the archetypes live. That's where the magic is. And we're in constant relationship between that. And I want to break those frames that allows you to then be able to like lead into and feel into the more peripheral states of consciousness that are here for us. And in this place, again, we're going to be able to feel the texture of our life. We're going to feel the texture of our emotions that are present with us when we look at the astrology. So allowing yourself to come into that deep relaxive state, and then allowing yourself to kind of just wander into the peripherals, right? This exercise, just allowing it to come into there. Okay. Now, pause the video if you feel that you want to sort of stay with that space for a bit. I'm going to move on, okay? Now, to me, the biggest potential that exists with this astrology at the moment, and I'm going to continue to keep doing this going forward, right, is we want to be able to listen to the voice and the story of the archetypes. We want to allow that texture to come through to us. Now, each and every one of you has your own unique situation. There is no one kind of universal stated truth that I can share with you the patterns, but you, in order for this to work, you need to be able to come into presence with yourself. You need to be able to connect with what is in your reality. So that's why becoming more peripheral allows you to understand the context of your life right now. And some of your context of your life is going to feel very sort of like sad and painful, and some things that you're really worrying with, etc. Some of them you're going to notice excitement, right? That's what we're wanting to kind of really get in touch with, is the noticing the different layers of emotion that you are sensing within your field. Okay, it's kind of this idea coming into the space. And so you need to be able to connect with that individually for yourself, all right? Now, part of this process, part of the current astrology at the moment is supporting, as I've said before in many other videos, part of the astrology at the moment reflecting is stories of alignment, okay? Coming into alignment. Now, why is what I'm sharing with you right now important when coming into alignment? Because this body over here, this system that you have, right, it is consistently interacting with life. It's consistently paying attention to what is important, what is not, what is real, what is not, what is essential, what is not. It's consistently filtering through that process. And in many ways, we're kind of have like a little window into the things that we will recognize as important, and we'll make these decisions very rapidly. And a lot of that will be sort of influenced by the frame of reality that we have. So think of it in the sense that, you know, for somebody that has been lied to quite a lot in their life, a deep frame that you're going to hold about life is a lot of people are not honest. So I need to check that. I need to check if people are really being honest with me, so that can stop potential intimacy, because there's a wound, or there's a framing of past experiences have rendered something negative, and so therefore I'm going to build a perception within myself that stops me from, that filters out certain experiences and helps me tune into, you know, the potential honesty or dishonesty. Okay, I want you to think about your astrology chart in that sense, like types of transits that you've had, types of experiences you've had. That's how these things shape and reframe your way of actually interacting. And this is what actually occurs for us. That's why if you have a reading with an astrologer and they kind of look at some transits or look at some planetary systems, they'll point to these things and you'll go, yeah, right? Because there's a context of validation that is occurring at a deep level within yourself, and then you're feeding it back to the person. What I'm interested in is how can we get deep into the architecture of your own consciousness and be able to then form and interact with it in a way where you're driving it, right? You're conscious of those interplays. Okay, so much of this right now is about alignment, right? Coming into what is correct alignment for you, right? What is correct alignment for you? And like I said, I've shared with you a lot about this in previous videos, New Moon in Gemini, etc. Full Moon in Sagittarius, I talked about the ability to understand your relationship between what is relevant and salient for you, which is present for you right now, and kind of how you can orientate and get in contact with something that is generating excitement for you, right? This vision of the future. And I encouraged you to integrate a symbol into your way of looking at things to align with. So if the symbol was you wanted to have healthier relationships, then what does that symbol look like for you? And then how can you be in conversation with that symbol that helps you grow into the thing that you want, right? So that's what I'm encouraging you as a big part of this process. It's like, how many of you have taken some time to kind of really reflect on the symbol that speaks to or answers to or helps you attain change within your life? Okay, so that's something to think about, right? And so this video today, and what I'm trying to put across here, is the capacity to be able to bring you into that alignment process. Okay, so let's take a look at the astrology chart. Okay, so here is the current chart that is drawn in alignment with the solstice. As you can see right at the bottom of the chart over here, we've got the sun just entering the archetype of Cancer, and you've got some aspects that are being made, right? Particularly with Pluto sitting here, 29 degrees in relationship to the sun. And then you also have what I consider to be, well, it's not I consider to be, it is. It's a repeating theme, okay? So repeating theme is the moon that is coming up to this Mars-Venus, okay? So these are two highlighted points that I think are worth stepping into. Of course, Venus makes this connection to Saturn, and it makes, to Saturn as well as to Jupiter. And then you can see the sun also makes this aspect to Pluto, and it makes an aspect to Neptune. That's a square, that's an inconjunct. And if you look here, there is an inconjunct and there is a square. So this is, to me, these are two fundamentally important aspects. Also, the moon is in the sign of Leo, which is the sun. The sun is in the sign of Cancer, which is the moon. And so there's a repeating theme here. So the message is very clear in terms of adjustment, alignment, and then meaning. Okay. So earlier in this video, I talked about allowing yourself to come into peripheral sense, to allow yourself to wonder, to allow yourself to break the frames of this is who I am, this is what I should do, and like allow yourself to sink into a deeper, wide-ranging awareness of the totality of your life over, say, a week. Okay. And you know, if you want to go further, that's fine. Okay. So this aspect between Pluto, the sun entering Cancer, and the Pluto squaring the nodes, of course, as you know, this is about the past and the future, and we are resolving. In order to move forward, Pluto went into Aquarius. Aquarius said, hey, this is what you want. This is what freedom looks like. Let's go do this. And you went, right on, let's do this. And you started attuning to it. And then Pluto said, before you can actually get there, you need to be able to go and make sure that you pass the test in Capricorn, right? And you're like, now we're back, right? We're going back to that space. So this energy dictates, this Pluto is dictating the rest of the chart. And it's like, we're now going backwards. Okay, we've got to go backwards to see what we're recovering. Okay. And the alignment process is what we're recovering. You can't go into the future with a completely disorientated sense of self. You need to be able to ground it in what is relevant for you. Okay, that's the wide spacing peripheral wandering that I need to get into. Okay, so there's this inconjunct. Now, what an inconjunct does is it forces you to feel uncomfortable with half the truth. Okay, half the information, half the perception. So, in a way, like part of the immersion, I want you to take your hand and I want you to put it over your eyes like this, okay, just your eye. And I want you to try and look over here. Put your hand over here and try and see if you can see your finger, right? It's impossible. It's not possible. And immediately, if you pay attention to what's going on within your perception, you notice that you need to imagine, okay? You need to imagine. So when you see inconjuncts, one dimension of this is that there is an absent awareness of two energies that are interacting with each other. So in this case, it's the Cancer entering, the Sun entering Cancer, and Pluto in Capricorn, right? And Aquarius, Capricorn. And both these two planets, they can't see each other. They're sitting over there and you're like, so you have to imagine it. You have to imagine what that energy is like. It brings you into a deep state of beyond definition, which is where the experience of attunement comes into. So what I mean by this is that this energy is going to feel like, so in your life right now, there's something that you are not present with in this luminous state. Like, so you lead into this place over here and you're wanting to do something with your life, but there's something that is blocking you, or not blocking you actually, something you can't actually see. Sometimes you don't even know it's there. So we don't actually know currently what it is that is unavailable to us. Well, that is available to us. It's there, right? But we don't know it's there, okay? So something within your sphere at some point will come into your consciousness, unexpected, and you will have to, in a sense, kind of allow it. You need to surrender to that process. You need to surrender to an event or a circumstance or a situation that will come into that wide-scaping field, and it will change your direction. It will prompt you to say, in order to move forward, okay, this is to me the wisdom that I see with this, right? In order to move forward, you must let go of something, okay? You must acknowledge, you must recognize a crisis or some form of tension within your life that is prompting you to not know what it is, that's the imaginal space, but to be able to, in a sense, just trust or have faith that by acknowledging this little stress that's sitting here, and to work through it, to process through it, whatever that is for you. So there's something within your life right now, okay, that feels like you can't really see it, okay, but it's there and it's pressing on you like that. It's like, hey, here it is. And you want to be able to lean into it. You want to be able to feel into that process. There's a tension that is presently within your world right now. And you want to feel into that. And then what that tension is trying to do is it's trying to ask you the question, something along the lines of, right, does a part of you still align with the future? A very simplistic version. In one of the previous videos, I talked about that this Venus energy that's sitting there, right, this Venus-Mars energy, it's in a closing phase relationship. It's about culmination. So how do we experience culmination, right? This is something to do with when we end something, right? There is a process of reflection. So this moon is pointing to the necessary need to reflect back on past patterns of relationships that you have within yourself. So there's a pattern of a way of relating to what you have given meaning to. Okay, so I'm going to kind of lean into this process here. This chart is saying one way you were going and you gave meaning to it, and it became the mechanism that you decided that this was life about. And for most people, that sense of meaning was conditioned. The frame was conditioned. It was like, do this, and then you will achieve that. This energy, this sun sign energy, along with the moon Venus, is causing a sense of kind of disencouragement, like a disillusionment, like let go of, become disenchanted, accept disenchantment. Notice, and this is where you really come into it, notice within this luminous field as you lead into backwards like that, where am I feeling less interested in things that once I gave meaning to? So really allow yourself to feel into where emotionally there's a part of you that's saying, I'm actually not really interested in this thing anymore. And you feel into that, feel into the nature of what that represents to you. Now, many of you may be going like, yeah, I know exactly what this is. I'm sick and tired of this job, right? Other people may notice it as not really that salient, but in a sense, the more that you kind of allow yourself to just like become into wonder state and let your consciousness or your psyche kind of bring it to you more present, you may be in dialogue with that. So what I'm encouraging you here to do with this Pluto in conjunct to the Sun and this Neptune, Saturn, or sorry, it's the Venus Saturn, pardon me, and the Venus Saturn, Venus Neptune, and the Venus Saturn. There's, oh my gosh, I'm going to get it, yeah. There we go. The Venus Saturn. So Venus Saturn, Neptune Saturn. What I'm encouraging you to do here is this. Drop into the space and feel where there is excitement, there's arousal. It's like, whoa, this is really interesting. This feels relevant for me. This is where I'm going to go. And then, as I said before, kind of like allow yourself to notice where that sense of irritation is, where that sense of not belongingness is, where that disillusionment is, where that part of you. Now, the inconjunct is telling us that in order to move from one state to another, move from one, taking your attention away from this place to this place, you need to be able to see how that reality came into contact with your life, like how you defined it, how you gave it meaning, how you gave it life. So the Leo piece here is, in the past, you have given life to things that have become less and less relevant for you. And you are now moving, you're taking your attention and you're moving it towards what is relevant, what is real, what is aligned. Okay. And what that's going to do for you is going to get you into attunement with where your current values are right now. Okay. So the Taurus archetype is a pattern within us that we drop, when we drop into the recognition of that pattern, it attunes us to what is essential, right? What is our instinctual pattern of survivability within us, what is of interest to us. So it drives our capacity to say, yes, I like swimming. No, I don't like fishing. That's what Taurus does. At a fundamental level, within the biosphere, it is the capacity to pay attention to an internal mechanism that is literally telling you, yes, I like this, no, I don't. So this process of moving your attention, being present with what is, this is becoming faded, I don't want to do this anymore, it's irritating me, I don't want this, and then shifting your attention to, yes, I'm really wanting to move in this direction. Just doing that crossover, just consistently moving the attention to that space and giving it space, giving it something to live with, right? Feeding it, nurturing it, right? This energy right now is incredibly fertile. This energy is fertile. So notice where there's a peak interest and say, okay, I'm going to give more of attention to this. Notice that what is giving you that feeling, right? If it's consistent over a period of like more than just a day, but if it's consistent, say, like, be in dialogue with that. And as I've talked about before, that dialogue is, hey, this is who I was based on a series of patterns and beliefs and framing that I once gave life to, but it is no longer, it is fading. And that is the capacity to recognize it's the system in you that can actually tell you the difference between the two. And what you will notice that's actually driving that at a deeper level is your capacity to recognize the pattern of where your values have shifted. And Jupiter right now, like, is really opening up that space to say, this is what you really value. Like, feed that, nurture that, ground that. Does that make sense? Okay. So the inconjunct again between Sun and Pluto at the moment is you may not necessarily see that as you give more presence to this, it creates this underlying feeling of, I'm no longer identifying with that, right? That's where the adjustment comes in. So what are you aligning with? And it's an attunement to a deeper state of self. It's an attunement to a deeper state of self, right? Every single one of us has a pattern that we are orientated towards. Your body and the cosmos, when in union together, work as a mechanism of pulling you in your body's form into that pattern to experience the deeper state of consciousness. And the body is a receptor to this. And so they work together as a mechanism of interaction. And so what we're now doing right now is we're consciously recognizing a shift within our perception of that which is no longer allowing for receptivity, and being able to then come into something that is being receptive, right? And this is why this is incredibly fertile. This is a space of what am I receptive to, which is what am I closing down to. Does that make sense? And the way that you do that is by allowing yourself to come into a deeper state, allowing your space to wander more, and then paying attention to where your attention goes, right? And really allowing yourself to feel the affect, right? Feel the emotional system give you interest, like, oh, I'm really interested in this, like I'm studying this at the moment, this is where I want to go, versus not anymore, right? It's dampening, it's saying a dissociation, it's saying a disengagement, it's saying this like letting go of in that process. Okay, now again, this Pluto in conjunct the Sun can feels like stepping into new territory. So okay, cool, I'm going to do this thing here, but as you step into it, it's like, oh, this feels like a foreign place to me. Okay, so part of this energy is allowing yourself to breathe into the foreign space. Yes, it's completely new. And that's the blind spot. You don't see that part of this foreign space is there not because there's something wrong. It's actually saying it's natural to feel odd with something that's new. Okay? And so to allow yourself to not be curious, even though it drives it, but to be in wonder of what this new experience is going to be. So that's kind of the key. It's like being in wonder with this new emergent reality while simultaneously being in compassion for that which has now come to an end. Okay? So that's where I'm going to kind of leave this conversation with you today. I really hope that it kind of touches with it. This is what the Saturn retrograde is about. The Saturn retrograde is really allowing us to come more into the Uranus piece. And the Uranus piece is allowing us to be more in contact with far-term memory, right? With deeper states of memory. Uranus is the energy that is beyond Saturn. So Saturn says, here's what I'm framing. And then when Saturn goes retrograde, it says, hey, I'm going to open up that frame a bit and allow you to wander into deep space, right? So this Uranus is now taking precedence over Saturn. And so at the moment, there's a capacity to allow the frames to come into deeper memory. And I want you to kind of really connect with your memory. I want you to really connect with the wider range of experience that you have. And I want you to deeply reflect on the conversation that you have between these experiences and the framing that you use to see these spaces with. And then again, challenge those frames. Like, say, is this really true? And as you kind of allow yourself to dissolve these frames, you will also see something emerge out of this dissolving space. And this is kind of the potential that's also held you. And you'll find that in this dissolving space, more of what is fresh, what is alive, what is vibrant in the consciousness at the moment, in the collective at the moment, will start to want to percolate your perceptions. You might find yourself piquing more interest. Okay, I want to do this, or I like to do this. And what does that tell me about myself? What does that tell me about myself, right? If my system is being in contact, being in receptive to something that's pulling me in this direction, let me wander into it, right? And be with that space. Okay, cool. So, immersion course, if this is something that you want to be taught by, I'm going to be doing the whole evolutionary astrology around this. So you're going to learn how to understand nodes from this perspective, everything. And it's going to give you the opportunity to look at your chart as well as other people's charts if you want to become a professional astrologer in a way where I'm actually trying to decouple you from the dependency of consistently coming onto YouTube and searching for answers when I know that you have the answers within you. You just haven't synthesized your sense of connection with the cosmos in the way. And that's kind of this mission over here. So in the link in the description is a link to check that out. And I'm also opening up some spaces for the Metamorphosis program as well. So if you want to be in deep conversation with me and you want to process this stuff at a deeper level and you want support around that, then there's also a link to have a 15-minute call with me to see if there's an opportunity to work with you as well. And the last thing I'll say is any people that are wanting to become professional astrologers, I do have a mentorship program. It's been something that has been incredibly life transforming for me, and same procedure. Let's have a call. Let's see if this is something that you can do, and I'll put a link in the description as well. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you've come away with something that is very integrated in this process, and let me know in the comment section what you think. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.